What's up everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna play Ambre. It's a visual novel game and the reviews are they're all good, but one thing's common. It's like they said they cried at the end. I don't know about that, if this game is gonna make me cry or not. But yeah, that's all I know about this game. Out of 5, I think it got a 4.7 or 4.5 score on the review. And the art style looks pretty good. Look at that. She's even blinking in the title screen. And Ambre, I think that's the name of the girl. I really don't know anything about it. So without further ado, thank you guys for all the support on the channel. Really appreciate it. Love you guys. Let's go. Let's play on English, of course. It was 7 p.m. on that beautiful yet cold autumn day. The wind shook the frail tree's branches across the street. Tristan Malory made his slow, tired way. A whirlwind of leaves caught his attention and he stopped to contemplate them for a few minutes. Damn, my English. Okay. A spray of colors danced around him. Fragments of reds, oranges, yellows spread at random, forming a mosaic that stretched on for as far as the eye could see, endlessly. It was rare beauty in that gray and fuming city, in that noisy metropolis constantly exhaling bad air. Coming back to his senses, the 30-year-old man shook his head. Now wasn't the time to be daydreaming. He had to go home. The day-long weighed on his shoulders, but if he was honest with himself, work wasn't the most tiring thing in his life. Since honest, well-paid work was somewhat of a luxury these days, like any model employee, he consciously accomplished every task handed to him, and did no more or less than what was asked. No, what was destroying him was a completely different form of fatigue, an appalling and crushing solitude that had been shadowing him for years, ever since his wife died, I think. The light tinkle of the front door opening brought him back to earth. He was already at his flat. A sad and mute living room sat waiting for him in morbid silence. Goosebumps traveled down his spine as he entered the room. Damn, the loneliness he's feeling is kinda sad. Driven by desperation, he didn't even take the time to hang his coat correctly but began slamming all of the doors, one after another. Each time, the same emptiness answered his pleas. He felt a rising dread within. His last hope was the last door in the forbidden room beyond. He opened it slightly and peeked inside. Of course, there was no one. He fell heavily onto the sofa. The crashing solitude came back in full force, crushing him again and again, wounding his face with invisible cuts, the cuts of time. It was happening again. All of a sudden, Tristan Malory felt exhausted. He held his head in his hands and stared at the floor for long minutes. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he got to his feet. He moved to gather all of the framed pictures that had been on the furniture and stowed them away in the closet. They needed to be out of his sight. When he was sure that there were no more pictures to put away, Tristan put his coat back on and went outside. It was cool, a bit dark, but there was still enough light to see by. It was the ideal time to take a walk. At least that's what he would have thought. As he hurried along the sidewalk, the 30-year-old man was anything but relaxed. Nervously, he walked around her most familiar places, looking for a serenity that seemed to be out of reach. While passing a park near his home, where the music stopped, he heard a high-pitched, almost inaudible plea. Why did the music stop? Something's about to happen. His heart jumped, and he stopped. While passing a park near his home, he heard a high-pitched, almost inaudible plea. His heart jumped, and he stopped. In the dim light of the setting sun, he made out the silhouette of a little girl sitting on a swing, with her head bowed. Tears rolled her cheeks. Afraid of startling her, he made his way toward her slowly and looked at her. Her clothes were crumpled. She had neither coat nor scarf, and there were scratches on her hands and arms, as if she had been in a fight. The park was completely deserted and she seemed to have been there for a while. For a second, Tristan Malory felt the urge to leave her there to whatever fate lay in store for her. But then he mentally chastised himself. He couldn't do that to a child. So he knelt in front of her and asked in a soft voice, "Is something wrong?" Oh shit! I clicked the option. At first, the little girl seemed not to hear him. She choked on her sobs, hiccuped, and shuddered. Slowly, Tristan Malory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took long minutes for her to calm down enough to speak, but eventually, with a faint voice interrupted by sobs, she wiped at her tears and answered him. I don't know. I think I've lost something important. Really important, but I can't remember what it was." Tristan Malory sighed, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. She seemed so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tightly her sadness melted away, and at the same time within him, a voice was telling him that he shouldn't be too forceful. He shouldn't take advantage of her weakness. So he tried to not lose face, to look reassuring. Yet in front of this sad little girl, he did not feel self-confident at all. "Are you alone? Where are Mommy and Daddy?" "I don't know." "Do you have lived far away from here?" "I don't know." "I'm sorry about the voice I gave to the girl. I'm sorry." "What's your name?"
Ambre.
"Well, Ambre, you can stay here out in the wind, or you're going to catch a cold. And you don't want to get sick, do you?"
No, I hate being sick.
"See? You've got to go warm yourself up somewhere. The night's getting close."
But I don't know where to go.
"In that case, what do you think about going over to my place? It's not far away from here, and it'll make a much better sleeping place than the swing." Holy shit! You can be charged of kidnapping by what you just said. Okay. Ambre seemed wary at first, but she had no other choice but to follow him. He gently reached a hand to her, and for the first time, she lifted her eyes. They were washed out, blurred with tears, and hesitant. He thought it a good idea to show her a smiling face, to appear to be a reassured adult. Even with the fatigue, he caught her fine and frail hand and helped her to get her feet. Okay, the young girl's steps were wobbly and weak. She had probably not eaten all day long. He held her hand, making sure she wouldn't trip. We're at my home, okay? The 30-year-old man removed his coat and shut the door behind him. "Make yourself at home. I'll cook you something." Passing through the kitchen, he turned on the light in the living room so his flat would look less gloomy. While roaming through his fridge looking for a good meal idea, he stole several glances over the counter. In the living room, Ambre was still walking around, a bit wild, still on the defensive. She explored this new environment by looking around, admiring the ornaments. She didn't find much to pique her interest. It was a bland house, almost too bland. There were no clues about the occupants' lives. Shit! Taking advantage of Tristan's being distracted by a packet of noodles, she escaped to the hallway and tried to find the bathroom. She found it quickly enough before returning to the hallway. Then she noticed that all the doors were wide open except for one. She was drawn to that doorway even before she had time to think. Intrigued, Ambre felt magnetically attracted by the slightly open door. Just one peek was all she wanted, but she couldn't see anything through the crack. Was this Bluebeard's cabinet? A frightening tomb where Tristan Malory stored the corpses of his former wives? Is that her thinking it or saying it? I don't know. The little girl pushed the door open, entered the room, and switched the light on. Oh shit! Did she lose her his wife? It was a bedroom with soft cushions filled with plushes. Oh, they were about to have a daughter, I think. Oh my god. A big bed, proudly throned in the center of the room, was accompanied by a pretty dressing table to one side. The walls were painted to look like a bright blue sky. The storage furniture, coordinated with the sweet colors of trinkets, were overflowing with mysteries. On the nightstand, she could catch a glimpse of a nightlight shaped as a cute mascot. There was a fairy-like ambience about this strange room, so that Ambre couldn't repress a little exclamation of surprise. Closing the door so that the 30-year-old wouldn't discover her hiding spot, she stretched out on the colorful bed, rolled into a ball, jumped about, and snuck under the bed sheets. For an inexplicable reason, she felt at ease in this room, worthy of princess. It seemed to have been built for her, to correspond for her every fantasy. Then she noticed a big teddy bear which seemed to stare at her. That on the left, okay? Immediately she grabbed it, hugged it, and covered it with kisses. Her pale face was illuminated by a wide, pure, innocent smile, a child's smile. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Tristan Malory finished cooking the noodles. He was about to serve the meal when he noted the absence of the little girl. Slightly worried, he called for her. Ambre? Ambre, where are you? Nervous, he looked after her in all the rooms, checking to see if she was in the bathroom. He searched everywhere in the house until there were only... The entry door makes some noises when it's opened. I would have heard if she had left. Can she be in there? Already? With a contrite sigh, he headed toward the forbidden room and found Ambre playing with a stuffed animal. Shit. Man, the music fits perfectly. It really gives you on the mood, sets you on the mood and emotions. His gaze softened. I suppose that I can do anything. He thought to reassure himself. Without a word, he went to sit next to her. On the bed, the little girl moves the stuffed animal's hands while making them speak. In her weak voice, she was narrating a stuffed animal tea party and seemed to be enjoying herself. The light was back in her eyes. Suddenly, she got mad at a plump cow and scolded her harshly.
It's dirty. Stop it right now. You're making a mess. Ellie, what did I just say? It's dirty. You've got to behave yourself. And don't roll on the floor. You shouldn't make a fuss just because you didn't get what you wanted.
As punishment, she sent the cow in the corner, ordering her not to move before replacing her with a pony with long eyelashes. The stuffed animal tea party hosted by the blue monkey was obviously not going as planned. The 30-year-old man eyed the little girl's every move with care. She finally noticed his presence. He felt he had to speak. Are you having fun?
Yeah, I didn't know that there was a bedroom like this in your house. Whose room is it?
It was my wife's favorite room before she left.
What happened to her?
It's a long story. Maybe I will tell you another time. Meanwhile, the meal's getting colder. Do you want to eat? Of course.
Of course. What do we eat?
Bolog... What? Bolognese sauce with pasta?
Great, great. I love it.
Okay, it's evening now. That evening, Tristan Malory admired Ambre as she wolfed down her food. He felt half amused, half distracted. Seeing her so happy soothed his heart a little, but at the same time...
Are you tired?
The child asked suddenly, with a serious air. A little. I worked hard today. She said nothing. Still amazed by the princess's bedroom, she revived the topic with starry eyes. Do you like it?
Yeah, a lot. I wish I had a similar room.
If you want, I'll give it to you.
Really?
Look at her eyes, though. My wife left a long time ago. Her stuff is still inside and I don't use it, so if you like, it's yours. You can stay in her room while I'm looking for your parents and what you lost. What do you say?
Can I? Really? But it doesn't belong to me.
There is nothing sadder than a house without life, isn't it? I know that my wife loved to rest in her favorite room. There she felt at ease, like on a cloud, but now she's not living here anymore. You seem to like this place, so I think it would make her happy to know that her bedroom is in good hands.
And I can do whatever I want in it?
While I'm at work, you'll be able to play in this room as much as you want. I'll leave you some leftovers for the lunch. You'll only have to heat them up in the microwave. And in the evening, we'll play together if you'd like to.
Do I need to go to school?
Uh-huh. No more school. Only games. My god, I love that shit. No school, only games.
Hey, great then.
In front of Ambre's overflowing enthusiasm, Tristan Malory couldn't help but smile faintly, almost pitiful. Yes, that's it indeed, he kept telling himself, as if to reassure himself. All I'm doing is keeping her around until she remembers who she is and what she's lost. Waiting for her to remember. And if she remembers, you'll lose her too.